ECPM has been working on regional integration for many, many years, and indeed we organised and attended a whole set of conferences and seminars and workshops on regional integration and trade. But quite often we came out of it a little bit disappointed or feeling we'd heard it all before, and we decided we actually wanted to go a little bit deeper and understand who actually drives this agenda, what drives the agenda and what blocks the agenda. And so from there came our work, which we call PERIA, the Political Economy of Regional Integration in Africa, and where we wanted to go and look at the role of the RECs, the regional organizations, in driving this regional agenda.
So the work that we did then resulted in 6 quite large studies looking at 5 regional organisations in the African Union, covering all sorts of sectors from peace and security to agriculture to economic integration. And on the basis of those studies then we carried out some meetings where we wanted to discuss this with some of the key stakeholders. So we did this both in Europe, in Brussels, where we held meetings with some sort of key academics on the topics, so like Frederick Soderbaum and Daniel Bach, where we also discussed this with sort of European policymakers. And then we also took the studies to Addis Ababa, to the African Union, where there was an African Union Commission seminar with something like 200 participants from think tanks, from civil society, from the African Union Commission itself. Where the idea was really to kind of present this and try and see what sort of discussion that provoked.
Regional integration in Africa is very high on the agenda. There are great ambitions, but sometimes there is this gap between commitments and implementation. And this is the background against which we undertook this study. We wanted to look into how the various RECs, the various regional economic communities in Africa, operate in practice.
It helps us also think outside of the box of regional organizations, as other elements may contribute to the effectiveness of these regional organizations. It may help us also consider how core functions of regional organizations, basic functions of accountability, transparency, responsiveness, can be strengthened.
I think what was interesting was that by presenting it to these different audiences, there was some discussion about what this really means, what it means for donors who are trying to support regional organisations, and also what it means for people working within regional organisations who are supposed to implement some of these agenda items by themselves. So it created a lot of discussion around the fact that it is a political statement, that it is a very complex process, and that there is really a need to try and sort of drill down and better understand these relations and interests within countries and between countries.
For me, integration will drive national economies. It's not the other way around. And I think as Africans, we should begin to think of integration as the driver to stronger economy.
I think that it's a fantastic report. I think that it will certainly help us to understand much better what is it that we need to do differently. And I think that it's an important part of the process of learning by doing, and congratulations to the authors of the report. Thank you.
I think what we've learned from this is that whereas sometimes regional integration is seen as a somewhat sort of technocratic exercise of just implementing strategies and policies, really what we begin to see it as it's a political exercise that has a lot of interest, that there are a lot of winners and losers, and that we need to understand who those are in order to be able to better adapt policies. So having looked at 6 organisations in Africa so far, we're now actually lining up another 11 organisations that we'll be looking at over the next year or 2 years, where the idea is also to zoom into other specific areas of collaborations.
And we hope to continue providing a lot of this analysis and interesting insights and continue the dialogue with really the various different stakeholders, be it supporters or the RECs or anybody who actually has a stake in regional integration in Africa.